like, there's a moment where you see the child reaching for one of the eggs, and then just Mando's finger comes into frame, and like,
yep.
So good. So funny.
Okay, we're back with episode 2 of The Mandalorian. Before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe and become part of our Pupper Pack. Click that bell icon so you can be notified of all of our future endeavors. I got the mustache.
Me too. Mustache crew. The reason we have some mustaches is because this week's episode was a lot cooler.
Yeah, it was. Because when the episode starts off, we're still on Tatooine. He gets ambushed by some bandits.
With a trip line.
Yeah. And they want the child, which takes us back to the first season. It's just like, people are still after the child. They know that it's very important. And he's able to barter. And he'd be like, hey, take anything you want, just give me the child, and you can take any scrap. And at first I thought he was going for Boba Fett's helmet.
Well, they pan the camera, so the bandit, is looking for what it wants, because the child is being held at knife point. Mando's like, take what you want, just don't hurt the kid.
But he ends up taking the jetpack.
Yeah.
Which added us to some nice slapstick. This episode had a lot of comedy bits.
Oh my gosh, it was so
I was laughing
funny.
a lot more than I think any other time in The Mandalorian.
Well, it's like, because you see this bandit, like, running away with the jetpack, and the child, like, waddle runs to Mando, which is adorable. Like, I was expecting that to happen, but it was still really cute to see it happen. So he, like, picks the child up, and they're watching this bandit run, and then he clicks his wristband, and you just see the bandit shoot. Like, and he falls from the sky, obviously, because he doesn't know how to use the jetpack.
Yeah.
And the child, like, looks up at Mando, and Mando's just like... It's just funny, like... So
he goes to meet Amy Sedaris's, and I don't know her character, but he goes to see her, and he's just like, okay, so we're gonna have to find out where this Mandalorian is. And she gives him a destination, but she's also like, the only way to get there is you gotta play taxi.
Yeah.
To this frog lady who's trying to protect the babies.
Oh my gosh, she has all of her, like, egg babies in this canister that she wears as, like, a backpack. And the whole time that we're seeing this character and her babies, the child, like, whimsical music starts to play. And the child is just, like, looking in wonderment at these eggs. And as we're watching, you were like, I wonder what he's, like, thinking about with those eggs. And, like, my first thought was, he's gonna eat them. Like, he's gonna eat them. And then I was like, well, maybe he, like, senses that they're babies and something's gonna happen, and he, like, saves the babies. I was right the first time. Yeah. He eats them. Like, not even just, like, nibbles. He just, like, full on just, like, shoving his face.
It's like a dinosaur. They don't chew their food, they swallow whole.
Oh my gosh. And then Mando, like, goes down into the hold, sees that the child's not in his little hammock, and he's like, where is he? And then he sees him, like, elbow deep into the egg backpack, and he's like, no! You, like, see Mando panic as a parent for pretty much one of the first times where he's just like, oh my god, no!
Oh, he's a complete parent throughout this entire episode.
This is, like, the first real dad episode. Like, the other ones, you're just like, aw, he's trying his best. Like, they love each other. But this one, he finger waggles this child. Like, there's a moment where you see the child reaching for one of the eggs, and then just Mando's finger comes into frame, and like, so good. So funny.
Because he can't go into hyperspace, because it's going to kill the eggs. So he has to just mosey along, but he gets pulled over by the High Republic. And they're just like, license and registration, please.
I know.
He's like, oh, hold on, let me check. And
this is another, I feel like, unintentionally hilarious part, because he can't go into hyperspace, so he can't get away from the New Republic. He essentially just, like, drops the ship, and this frog woman, who is strapped into her seat, starts, like, screaming, like, her little frog face is just so upset, she's, like, grabbing onto everything around her. I'm having flashbacks to my mother in the passenger seat while I'm learning how to drive, but it's so unintentionally funny of her just screaming and, like, trying to grab onto everything. But when they land, like, obviously Mando is trying to get the ship to work, and then both of them are like, shit, the kids! Like, so they're, like, going to check on the kids, and what do we find? But the child, again, elbow deep into the egg backpack. So I think the
mom caught on, because by the end of the episode, she's like,
but she's like clutching
with the child.
Yeah, she's like clutching this like egg backpack, and the child like looks over. He like leans around Mando almost, and she just like hugs it tighter. But we got to see a really cool monster in this episode.
Oh yeah. Because
so
they crash over and it's in an ice planet. I'm just like,
we're pretty sure it's Hoth.
Yeah. So I'm just like, oh man, ice planet. I hope it's not a Wampa. And then it shows up, and I'm just like, I'll take the Wampa.
Yeah. So the frog mom, essentially like escapes the ship. Not that she was like being captive, but he told her to stay put, and she like walks
Well, we
away.
thought she was gonna freeze. Like if it weren't
Yeah,
for
they,
the
like-
Disney logo, I thought like they were gonna freeze her.
They
there's a
did. They
moment
did set it up for her to die.
where she takes her blanket and puts it over the babies. I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, she's sacrificed for that.
She's gonna die. Yeah.
My heart.
But essentially, she leaves the ship, and like Mando puts the heat sensors on, and he like follows her footprints, and she found a hot spring.
Yeah.
So she's in the hot spring with all of her babies, and it's kind of like a sweet scene where she's like warming up and warming the babies up.
And the child is just like, oh, and that's when we get that no.
The child is like, buffet! Like, this is wonderful. They're even better heated up.
So the child wanders off, and we see these rocks. We hope they're rocks.
Yeah.
And
But he like starts to peel one.
Yeah, peels at it.
And he like pulls this weird like little fetus type thing out, and I was like, oh no, they're gonna be spiders. And you were like, no spiders. And I was like, they're spiders. They're gonna be spiders.
And then all the eggs hatch of all different sizes. These ice spiders show up, and then the mama shows up, and I'm just like,
he's dying this whole scene, and I'm just like on the edge of my seat, like, all the spiders.
No, why? And like the mother in this scene of the frog mother does two hilarious things.
So unintentionally funny.
First, she realizes that they gotta go, so she whips her tongue at her clothes and just like bolts
I think
out
it's
of
the sound effect they used though that made it funny. It sounded like a whip.
Indiana Jones' whip.
It was like I'm pretty sure they just YouTubed like Indiana Jones whip, and then they just inserted that sound, that same sound. And then, like, it was just hilarious. So unintentionally funny. And then as they're running away, you see her, like, hauling ass behind them. Like, she's very top-heavy. She's a frog.
Yeah.
So, like, she's got this huge, like, puppet head.
Yeah, and she's carrying the babies.
No, Mando has the babies.
Mando has the babies.
Yeah, he puts the babies on his back.
Okay.
So he has the child and the babies, and then she's running behind him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you just see her go down. And I'm like, that's it, Mama's dead. Like, the spiders got her. And then they, like, pan out, and she is now
leapfrogging.
Leapfrogging.
And it is hilarious. She's
so,
hauling ass.
It's so funny. It's so funny. But, like, by the end of the episode, we still, like, didn't really progress the story anywhere so much to speak. Like,
this was a side quest episode.
Which I think is what's going to happen. I think this series is going to be side quests.
Okay.
I think it adds to the frustration for Mando of like every single episode they're like, oh well, we found a Mandalorian, so he goes, gets into some deep trouble, ruins his ship, and then there's no Mandalorian. So I feel like that's how it's gonna work for this season. Like, I don't genuinely feel like we're gonna meet another Mandalorian until later.
I mean, I like these characters. I like seeing them interact, so I'm okay with that. I could see a couple people having complaints by the end. It's just like, nothing really happened with the overall narrative. It was just like a planet of the day. Yeah.
Which isn't, to me, it's not a bad thing. Because at the end of the day, you're still developing the characters.
Yeah.
So we're getting to see...
We did see more of the child.
A lot more of the child, yes. Which I hope, in a way that if
we're fan service monsters. I don't like spiders, but we've never seen an ice spider in Star Wars before.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They could be in the EU. There's so much of that I don't really know about.
Yeah.
But no, it was really cool.
I definitely think that what they're going to do is Season 2 is going to be these side quests, and then at the end, he's going to finally meet a Mandalorian. Whether it's Boba Fett, because he's still like the shadowy figure at the end of Episode 1. Like, he wasn't in Episode 2 at all.
No, I was actually glad for that.
Yeah, me too. I hope he doesn't show up again until later.
Yeah, there wasn't much fan service. I think there was a nice Easter egg, though, because the High Republic, one of the pilots, I swear to God, is Dave Filoni.
You said that.
I'm going to look into that.
You said that, and I was like, that's going to be, like, his going out. Like,
it's like Peter Jackson with the carrot in The Lord of the Rings.
Yes, he's going to die a happy man. Like, I feel like at the end, like, when Star Wars is done and over, and they're like, okay, bookmark it, which I don't think will ever happen. But if it ever did, I feel like Dave Filoni would be in there, and he's like, I can die a happy man now. Like, but I think for the side quests, they're still developing the characters, and so I don't think it's necessarily bad, and they're still entertaining to watch.
It was fun. It was funny.
Yeah, so fun.
I still like the first episode better.
Same.
Because like I liked the Marshal being around more than I liked the Frog Lady.
Yeah.
Like she was a little annoying, but she was also like
I think that
enjoyable to watch.
For us, it's a communication thing. So like you can communicate with the Marshal.
To seeing the dad.
Oh my god, I want to see what he looks like.
My god.
I hope they look exactly the same.
That'd be funny.
Because they're frogs.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I think because you can communicate with the Marshal, you can watch them interact. It's not solely based on Mando.
Yeah.
Whereas with the frog, she's a puppet, so she doesn't necessarily have facial expressions.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to see how she's feeling.
Yeah. They came close though. They tried. I knew when she was terrified.
I think just because her mouth was open and she was flailing, which is
So
funny.
what did you guys think of The Mandalorian? You still like it? You still on board?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you guys for the next episode. Ho ho.